20,000 British servicemen and women were involved in nuclear bomb tests in the South Pacific between 1952 and 1958. Tiny islands with strange-sounding names like Christmas, Montebello and Emu were the sites for the massive explosions. But now, 30 years later, many people believe the exposure to radiation suffered by the servicemen has led to killer diseases like cancer in later life. The Ministry of Defence claims that stringent safety measures were carried out and that there's no evidence to relate radiation exposure to cancer. But even they have bowed to pressure and started their own investigation. With me is Central Television electrician Maurice Nicolls, who witnessed the tests on Christmas Island in 1957. Maurice, how were you chosen to go out there?
It was one day, it was on parade, morning parade, and I think it was the officer says, any volunteers would like to volunteer to go to a nice warm country.
Simply that?
Simply that. I stepped forward.
And you had no idea where you were going to or what you were going to be
just a warm country.
Doing? When you got out there, what did you actually do?
We laid the cables that from the televisions they put up one part of the island back to the scientist bunkers. You could call them like bunkers where the monitors was. And
you saw the explosion. What did you actually experience?
When the explosion went, we was all covered. We was in a ditch beside the lorries, well covered, protective clothing, well, protective glasses over the eyes, all bearskin covered and kept in the ditch. The plane goes over and they say bomb gone, and then they say bombs exploded, and then you get this flash. Even with your eyes closed, dark glasses, hands over eyes, you can feel this flash in the warmth. And then that goes and they say, that's it, now you can now see the blast. So we got up then, crossed the road, climbed onto lorries. I climbed onto a lorry and looking at this marvellous sight. And all of a sudden it was just like a cannon, bang! People was down on the floor thinking something gone wrong, and there was rumbling in the distance, and that was the blast catching up.
And you felt a great gust of wind come past?
No, there wouldn't be no wind. It was just like a cannon going off. And I mean a big cannon.
Do you think the safeguards were sufficient?
Well, that's, what would I be, 19 years of age? You don't think of safeguards. You presume that people in charge, you got everything in your safety. Everything's been looked after.
Are you now worried about your own health?
Not particularly. I mean, if I've got cancer, then there's nothing I can do about it. And through my life, I've worked in all sorts of jobs where I've got caught cancer. No way could I relate it to Christmas Island.
Going back to that time when you actually saw the explosion, can you remember what your thoughts were at the time?
As it went up and it rose in that marvellous ball of fire twisting and churning, and I thought, well, that's a marvellous sight. Next time I see that will be my last.